Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the U.S. immigration news. For millions of immigrants, the paths to legal status, work authorization, and permanent residency is often fraught with uncertainty and delays. Now, with the passage of the Laken-Riley Act by the U.S. House of Representatives, the stakes are higher than ever. While the bill primarily focuses on enforcement and border security, its potential ripple effects could significantly impact those pursuing green cards, work visas, and employment authorization documents, EADs. Could this legislation streamline the immigration system or create new hurdles for those seeking a legal pathway to contribute to the U.S. economy? If you are interested in this topic, please stay tuned until end of the video. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now let's get into the video. Let's first look at what is the Laken-Riley Act. The Laken-Riley Act is a landmark piece of legislation aimed at addressing gaps in U.S. immigration enforcement. It is named after Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student from Augusta University who was tragically murdered in February 2024. The alleged perpetrator was an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela with prior arrests for shoplifting, who had been released rather than detained. This tragedy not only shocked the nation, but also fueled calls for stricter immigration enforcement and reforms. Advocates for the bill argue that it seeks to address these enforcement gaps and prevent similar incidents in the future. How did the House vote? The bill passed in the House of Representatives with a bipartisan vote of 264 to 150. It received unanimous support from Republicans and the backing of 48 Democrats, a notable achievement given the often contentious nature of immigration debates. House Speaker Mike Johnson emphasized that this bill reflects the Republican Party's commitment to prioritizing border security, a cornerstone of their legislative agenda under the new majority. In his words, as promised, we're starting today with border security. While the level of Democratic support wasn't overwhelming, it is significant, highlighting a growing willingness among some lawmakers to collaborate on immigration enforcement measures. Key provisions of the Laken-Riley Act. The Laken-Riley Act introduces several sweeping changes to current immigration policy. 1. Expanded detention requirements. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, would now be required to detain undocumented immigrants charged with specific crimes, including theft, burglary, and shoplifting. This is a notable expansion of the categories of offenses that mandate detention. 2. Increased ICE authority. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, will be granted broader authority to detain and deport individuals based on a wider range of criminal charges. 3. Empowerment of state attorneys general. State attorneys general will have the power to sue the DHS if they believe their state or residents have been adversely affected by federal immigration policies. This provision has sparked debate over the balance of power between federal and state governments. 4. Addressing repeat offenses. The bill aims to prevent situations like the Laken-Riley case, where individuals with prior offenses are released rather than detained. Support and criticism. Supporters of the bill argue that it is a necessary step to enhance public safety and restore integrity to the immigration enforcement system. They point to cases like Laken-Riley's as evidence of gaps in the current system that need urgent attention. Critics, however, have raised several concerns. 1. Federal-state relations. Critics argue that empowering state attorneys general to challenge federal immigration policies could undermine the centralized management of immigration enforcement. 2. Resource strain. USCIS has expressed concerns about the agency's capacity to implement the expanded detention requirements without significant increases in funding and personnel. 3. Civil rights issues. Civil rights organizations worry that the bill could lead to increased racial profiling and unjust detentions, disproportionately affecting marginalized communities. 4. Potential legal challenges. The bill's provisions, particularly those related to state attorneys general, are expected to face significant legal scrutiny. The Senate's role. The bill's next stop is the Senate, where its fate remains uncertain. With the Democratic Party holding a narrow majority, Republicans will need to secure significant bipartisan support to meet the 60-vote threshold typically required to advance legislation. Interestingly, the Senate version of the bill has been co-sponsored by Democratic Senators John Fetterman of Pennsylvania and Ruben Gallego of Arizona. This unexpected support suggests that some Democrats are open to stricter enforcement measures, though it remains to be seen whether this will translate into enough votes for passage. Broader implications for U.S. immigration policy. The Laken-Riley Act comes at a time when the U.S. is grappling with record numbers of border crossings and increasing strain on border communities. The bill represents one approach to addressing these challenges, focusing on enforcement and detention. However, many experts argue that a more comprehensive approach to immigration reform is needed. This would include not only enforcement measures, but also pathways to legal immigration, improvements to the asylum process, and addressing the root causes of migration from countries like Venezuela and Honduras. Concerns from federal agencies and international relations beyond domestic concerns. The bill's provisions could have broader implications. Resource constraints. IC and DHS have already expressed concerns about their ability to implement the new detention mandates without additional funding. International disputes. The expanded detention policies could lead to diplomatic tensions with countries whose citizens are affected. Potential overreach. Critics fear that the bill's expanded enforcement measures could erode civil liberties and damage the U.S.'s reputation as a nation that values due process and human rights. The Laken-Riley case, a catalyst for change. The tragic murder of Laken Riley has been central to the debate over this legislation. Her case highlights perceived gaps in the current immigration system, where individuals with prior arrests can re-offend due to inadequate detention policies. While the act has been criticized for its potential overreach, supporters argue that it is a necessary response to prevent similar tragedies. What's next? As the Senate deliberates, the Laken-Riley Act will likely face amendments and further scrutiny. Its progress will be closely monitored by both supporters and critics, as it has the potential to reshape the landscape of U.S. immigration policy. If passed, the act would mark one of the most significant changes to immigration enforcement in recent years. If it fails, it could prompt renewed calls for comprehensive reform that addresses the many facets of the immigration debate. The passage of the Laken-Riley Act in the House of Representatives is a major development in the ongoing U.S. immigration debate. While supporters view it as a step toward enhanced public safety and border security, critics warn of its potential risks to civil liberties, federal-state relations, and the nation's resources. As the bill moves forward, its fate will have profound implications, not only for immigration policy, but also for the broader political landscape. We'll keep you updated every step of the way. The U.S. Immigration News channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas such as B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. Thank you for visiting us today, and we'll see you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe channel for more U.S. immigration update videos.